Like the hat?
Hi, I'm Marcia.
Gotcha. Come a little closer. Let me get a shot at you. Oh, that had...
The very best thing about turkey.
Hello? Oh, hey, sis. I was just thinking about you. What's that? No, it's my day off. No. And once again, no. Thanks for calling. Have a nice day.
Alton, why, you little freak. Now listen, you. I am not about to let these adorable little bunnies down. Oh, I am their Warren mother, for goodness sake. Fine. You think that's funny, do you? You just go ahead and laugh your day away. Meanwhile, I'm going to march myself down to the Krusty Kreme store and get what I need. Oh, I'm so sorry that the evil old Mr. Krusty fired you from your first job. He has donuts. I need donuts. Do the math. Really? You mean it? All warm and soft and something about 10 dozen or so at first would do it nice to... Yeah. Oh, a couple of hours? Perfect. We'll work on our glue gun merit badges until then. Okay. Okay, bunnies, gather around.
What just happened here? She did it again, didn't she? She does this to me all the time. If it's not donuts, it's cakes or pies or cookies, and every time I say no, and then things get all fuzzy, and suddenly I'm sitting there with a phone in my hand and a day of baking to do. Donuts. Well, I suppose it could be worse. You know, once upon a time, donuts were strictly homemade. You know, donut shops didn't come along until our country got all car crazy. Hard? Oh, heck no. And once you've noshed a few of your own, you'll find yourself a lot less willing to shell out hard-earned dough for a greasy hole in a bun, I'll tell you that. Nope, make your own donuts, and you'll discover that they're not just good, they're really... If it hadn't been for Henry VIII's convenient creation of the Church of England, there never would have been English separatists, nor would said separatists have needed to depart England for the more religiously tolerant climate of the Netherlands. And if they had moved to the Netherlands, these separatists never would have acquired a taste for oliekoeks, small pieces of dough about the size of a walnut, fried in hog fat, and very, very popular with the Dutch. But they did. And when they finally decided to move on to settle a New World rock called Plymouth, these pilgrims took oliekoeks with them. You can't imagine why they wanted to leave, though. Some say that it only took a couple hundred years for these nuts of dough to be called dough nuts. Of course, in another few hundred years, Americans made the donuts a heck of a lot bigger and punched holes in the middle of them, but that's another part of the story. Now, the majority of modern donuts are built upon chemical leaveners, but true old-fashioned donuts are built upon the breath of yeast. Here's what you're going to need. 1½ cups of whole milk, heated just hot enough to melt 2½ ounces of vegetable shortening. You'll also need 2 packages of instant yeast, sprinkled over 1/3 cup of barely warm water. Since we're using instant yeast here, we don't have to soak it in water the way you do traditional dry yeast. We could just add it right with the flour and the rest of the dry ingredients. But soaking it will give the yeast a little bit of a head start, and that means we'll have a faster rise on the dough, and that means donuts quicker. You'll also need 2 whole eggs, 1/4 cup of sugar, and 1 teaspoon freshly ground nutmeg. Now, when I say fresh nutmeg, I don't mean freshly sprinkled out of some can that you got from the grocery store. I mean freshly grated from one of these, an actual nutmeg nut, okay? Just use a fine grater like this. That's all you have to do, and this will keep in your cabinet for up to a year. You don't even have to put it in a jar if you don't want to. You'll also need to season all that with 1½ teaspoons of salt. For frying, you'll need 1 to 1½ gallons of vegetable or peanut oil. Oh, and you'll also need 23 ounces of all-purpose flour. Yes, by weight. Oh, like you've never heard this from me before. Why bother? Well, come here. Submitted for your approval. 2 flour canisters. But which one contains the most flour? Is it canister A or is it canister B? Well, there's only one way to know for sure. We're going to have to hit the scales. We begin with flour canister A, which weighs 3 pounds, 7.8 ounces. And now flour canister B, which weighs 2 pounds, 11.7 ounces. Let this be a lesson to us all. Mix thusly. Using a flexible cutting board or some other funnel-like device, add the yeast mixture, the shortening mixture, the eggs, the salt, the nutmeg, the sugar, and half of the flour called for in the recipe. Install your paddle attachment and stir on slow just until the ingredients come together. That way the flour won't fly all over the place. Then crank up the speed and mix thoroughly until the dough is homogenized. Then stop, add the rest of the flour, and then stir on low again. Now it's time to do the actual kneading, and this is impossible to do with the paddle attachment. So remove all the dough from said attachment using a spatula, your fingers, or combination thereof. Don't bother. And install your kneading hook. If you don't have one, borrow one from your friendly neighborhood pirate. Knead on medium speed until the dough pulls away from the sides of the bowl. Then move the dough to a well-oiled bowl, clean, cover with plastic, and store in a warm place for 1 hour or until the dough doubles in size. The origins of the donut hole are shrouded in mystery and coated with controversy. Although the annals of culinary history offer a plethora of possibilities, I will recount but two. The first stems from an incident reported in a 1750 edition of the Cape Cod Gazette. While frying up buns in her family home, a Cape Cod housewife was surprised when an arrow allegedly fired by a Nauset Indian brave flew through the open window, passing through one of her buns. The shaken woman reported that the hole actually improved her pastry. The brave could not be reached for comment. Now, number two is probably the most popular hole theory of all time, and it comes from a ship's log entry made by one Hanson Crockett Gregory, who was aboard a schooner anchored off the coast of Maine on Thursday, March 3rd, 1847. Excuse me. Captain Gregory recalls that that particular day, the ship had been suddenly taken by terrible storms. And he had to stay at the wheel for hours and into the night. And at one point, he grew so hungry that he called for his ship's cook to send up a fried cake. And just as he started to take a bite of the delight, they were pitched by a horrible rogue wave. And he had to grab the wheel with both hands, accidentally impaling the treat upon the wheel. An hour later, when the winds abated, his prize was still there waiting for him. Excellent case of form following function, if it be true. Problem is, a donut with a hole already in it won't stay on a ship's wheel nearly as well as if you punch your own. So why make donuts with holes in them? Nope, doesn't wash with me. I happen to subscribe to the theory that the donut hole was conceived by those legendary dessert daredevils, the Pennsylvania Dutch, the inventors of everything from cobbler to cream pie. And yes, I've got proof. There it is. Yep, found that in an old barn in Lancaster County. And look at it, it's the perfect pastry shape. See, by putting a hole in the middle, we dramatically increase the surface to mass ratio of the device, and that speeds cooking. And of course, this hoop, it's even all the way around, right? So it cooks evenly. Nah, the donut was no accident. This thing's as Amish as itchy wool clothing. Now, although you may have heard of punching down a dough after its first rise, don't do that. Just tap a little flour on top of it, fold it, and roll it. You see, we want to evenly distribute all of the yeast's... Oh, how should I put this? Wasn't me. Well, so what we need to do is we need to fold the dough, okay? We just want to get some of the bigger bubbles out and redistribute the, well, you know. Just pat it out. It's very soft. You're going to need a good bit of flour. You're going to just fold it in quarters and gently squeeze it and fold it over and gently squeeze it. Now we are ready to roll. We're looking for a final thickness of about 3/8 of an inch, so we're going to need to employ some technology. Now, which one of you beauties shall roll today? I think I'll go with the French rolling pin. Now, as far as getting the thickness right, you can just, freehand it, eye-hand coordination, or you can employ a guidance device, such as these rolling rings, okay? Just slide this over the end, and you've automatically got your thickness set. If you don't have those available, well, just go to the hardware store and get yourself some good old-fashioned sticks. And now, we roll. Oh, excuse me. Just lay your sticks out next to the dough ball there, and work it back and forth. There's going to be a lot of bubbles, but do not be afraid. There. Now it's time to contemplate cutters. Now, donut cutters, such as these, are available in finer cookery stores and on the internet, along with everything else in the world. Now, these sturdy models do a pretty good job, but, you're kind of locked into the size. And, of course, this is a unitasker. And as I have said 57 times before, the only unitasker allowed in my kitchen is one of these. So, I say skip this and buy yourself a can full of round pastry cutters, like this. For 15 or 16 bucks, you get 12 rings of differing diameters, which will enable you to cut donuts any old size you want. And that's what I call freedom. Oh, and you're also going to need one sheet pan. Cutting donuts is exactly like cutting biscuits. You want to push the cutter straight down until it hits the board and then twist. As you can see, we are going to have some leftover dough. Just wad it up into a ball, cover it, let it sit for another hour so that it rests before you roll it out and make more donuts. Although the second roll donuts won't be as tender as the first roll, they will be tasty. Now, this is why I think donuts have holes. Cover these with a tea towel and let them rise again for 30 minutes at room temperature. Oh, by the way, when you allow shaped pieces like this to rise again, it's called bench proofing. Thought you ought to know. Time to make the donuts. Now, in fine Olie Koch tradition, we will be doing our frying in a Dutch oven. Yes, I've got an electric fryer, but it just seems right. Pennsylvania Dutch oven. Besides, it lets me use my favorite analog thermometer. So we will go in one at a time, wait a couple of seconds, and then go with another. Waiting will make sure that they don't stick if they bump into each other. 3 and 4. Now, you probably noticed that we do have room for more donuts in here, but if we overload the oil, okay, the temperature will drop. That means that the cooking time will be longer, and that means the donuts will absorb fat. We don't want them to absorb any more fat than is absolutely necessary, so go 4 at a time. Your patience will be rewarded. And we will let these cook for 1 minute. While these are finishing up, it's a good time to make sure you've got someplace for them to go. I like to use a cooling rack that is made out of a cake cooling rack turned upside down onto newspaper. Since the newspaper is actually touching the wires, that'll help to wick the oil away from the donuts. And we are ready to extract. And this is why I like using chopsticks. Donuts. Golden brown, delicious on the outside, light and fluffy on the inside, and not the least bit greasy. Behold, the great American old-fashioned donut. Perfect served warm with a big old hunkin' glass of moo juice or an equally large cup of coffee for dipping, But tell you what, you try it. Oh, I guess you like glazed donuts. Okay. For a simple sugar glaze, combine a mere 1/4 cup of milk, that's only 2 ounces, and a teaspoon of vanilla. And just put that over very, very low heat until it reaches about 150 degrees. Now, such a small amount of liquid would fit in a very small pot, but a wider vessel like this saucier will make the going easier when dipping time arrives. Now, whisk in 2 cups of confectioner's sugar. I like the XXX kind. It's finer, dissolves faster. Now, believe it or not, that puny amount of liquid will be sufficient to hold all these tiny crystals in suspension, but it's going to take a little while. Don't whisk too fast. I mean, you're not trying to whip cream here. If you do, you'll aerate the glaze, and then it'll be brittle when it's on the donut. And that means when you take a bite, it'll all kind of fall off on your hands, which isn't where we want it. There, told you. 1/4 cup of liquid held on to 2 cups of sugar. Now, remove this from the heat and go get your donuts. Large donut operations usually pour their glaze over the donuts, but I think at this level of production that would be a little bit wasteful. So I just do the dip and flip method. Keep stirring your glaze, dip the donut, let the excess come off, and there you go. Now let these sit for at least 5 minutes so they set up before you know. Okay. Now, if you go slow, and actually even if you go fast, depending on the temperature in the room, your glaze will start to set in the pan. So either keep the pan over a hot pad set on high or a bowl of nice hot water like I have here. Let's review, shall we? Dip, drain, flip. I'll wait.
Well, it is about time. A bunny could starve waiting for you.
You're welcome.
So?
Great. Be fine. Oh, listen. One of the bunny's fathers said he would be happy to buy 5 dozen of them.
Great.
If they were chocolate glazed.
Tell them to stick them in a microwave with a chocolate bar.
Did I mention they're a Nielsen family?
I'll be back.
Although logic would dictate that we should be able to create a perfectly delicious chocolate glazed donut simply by sticking a donut into some melted chocolate, this actually doesn't work. Well, I mean, it would work, but as soon as you bit into the donut, the chocolate would just shatter, kind of like the bad Terminator in Terminator 2. No, never mind. What we need is a sugar syrup, a glaze like the one we built before, only this time flavored with chocolate, okay? And look, someone's already made it for us. We've got that 1/4 cup of milk, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and 2 cups of confectioner sugar, the XXX kind. Now, to that, we will first add the support group for the chocolate. It's going to be another teaspoon of vanilla and 1/2 cup of butter. Okay, that's 1 stick. There we go. Let that melt a little. Last but not least, corn syrup. A mere tablespoon of corn syrup. Corn syrup contains glucose, a very hygroscopic form of sugar, and even including this small amount will prevent our glaze from drying, shrinking, cracking, or getting gritty or grainy. Don't leave home without it. And then finally integrate the chocolate. Basically, we're just going to dump it in and stir over very, very low heat until it is thoroughly melted. Do not walk away. This chocolate could burn, even with all the sugar in here. When the chocolate's about half melted, kill the heat. But keep stirring. It's dipping time. Which is followed immediately, of course, by whisk licking time, if you like that kind of thing. The dipping procedure for chocolate is exactly as it is for the sugar glaze. But keep in mind that this glaze is a little bit thicker, so it's going to take a little bit longer to set up, which means you got to keep your hands off for a good half hour. Discipline. It's a cruel mistress.
There. You got your glazed donuts. I'm done. I'm finished.
Well, wait a minute. Don't you want to stay and meet the adorable little bunnies?
No, I don't want to meet any adorable little bunnies. You know what? The only time I'm interested in meeting a bunny is if I'm going to braise the bunny or roast the bunny or I did deep fry some bunny one time, and that was okay. It's kind of hard to get into the fryer. But besides that, I don't want to have anything to do with any bunnies. Bye.
Thanks, bro. You're the best.
Okay. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, little bunnies. Bye-bye. What just happened here? She put a spell on me. You put a spell on me! Oh, well, speaking of magic spells, I'm not sure that any food doses up the voodoo more than homemade donuts. Maybe it's the circular symbol of eternity. Maybe it's the fact that donuts are so embedded in our cultural history. Maybe the magic's in the hull. You know, the bite never can have. Then again, maybe Homer Simpson put it best when he said, donuts, good. Beats, that is. See you next time. Okay, boys, let's go home.